Assalamu alaikum my dear students, welcome in Asadullah Khan Knowledge Hub. So now we are having a second biology class. In online class we have started with the second chapter, and in that chapter I have discussed a few points with you people. So regarding the same, this is a video notes for you people. In last class we have discussed the first chapter and including the reduced part. So let's get start with the second chapter. Your second chapter is systematics of living organism, and in this chapter we have to deal with the different kingdoms that is being given by the scientists. So introduction of scientist also we have to study in this chapter. So first let's have a talk about the reduced part. Already I have given to you people, but just it's a revision for you people. So in this chapter 2.1, 2.2, 2.3, 2.4, 2.5 and 2.6, these are the reduced part of your syllabus, or from this chapter these 6 beats, more 6 are there. Like we have studied only one beat in last chapter, same way here also only one beat we will be studying in this chapter. So these are the first the sixth one, and these are the next sixth one, like 2.7 to 2.12. So all these things are non-evaluative in your chapter. It means no questions will be going to ask on this part. Okay, so this is your reduced syllabus. So from 2.1 to 2.12 everything is coming under your reduced syllabus. So this is your omitted part. You are not supposed to prepare this part. And the only one part that you are going to study from this chapter is the beat 2.13. okay, so that 2.13 beat only you will be studying, and that beat is the silent features of 5 kingdoms. Okay, so the silent features of 5 kingdom only we will be going to study in this chapter. So as you are aware about the living organism, there is a great diversity in the living organism. In our last chapter only we have seen the diversity among the living organism, including plants, animals, microorganisms and the different other living types that is available on the planet Earth. So this living organism is very difficult to study all together. So that is the reason scientists have categorized it on the basis of certain characters, habitats and features present in it. So that is the basic of 5 kingdom classification. So based on their habitat or the based on their structures they have classified. Now if we will see the classification of organism that was given by Robert H. Whittaker in the year 1969. So basically organism is derived or it is classified on 2 bases, that is prokaryotic organism and eukaryotic organism. So in my live class I gave you detailed explanation about prokaryotes and eukaryotes. What is the basic difference? U means true nucleus with all the nuclear envelope present around the organelles. So that eukaryote is again divided into 2 types, that is based on the cell, unicellular and multicellular. So here in unicellular there is one kingdom that is called Protista, and as I discussed in my online class about kingdom Monera, that kingdom Monera is the only kingdom that is coming under prokaryotes, or in other words we can say the members of kingdom Monera belong to the prokaryotic group. So first kingdom we will be getting in from prokaryotes, that is the kingdom Monera, and second kingdom we are getting from the unicellular of eukaryotes, that is the kingdom Protista. Then in multicellular again there is a bifurcation, that is with cell wall and without cell wall. So without cell wall there will be again one kingdom, that is kingdom Animalia, and with the cell wall here again we are getting 2 types, that is phototropes and heterotrophs. So as you know that phototropes are none other than the plants, so here we are getting the kingdom Plantae, and heterotrophs here we are getting one kingdom that is called kingdom Fungi. So like that there is a 5 kingdoms given by the Robert H. Whittaker in the year 1969. So those 5 kingdoms are kingdom Monera, kingdom Protista, kingdom Fungi, kingdom Plantae and kingdom Animalia. So this is a brief distribution of the or I can say the classification of living organism, and by this method we are getting the 5 kingdom. So let's talk about the person who has discovered it. So the kingdom classification, 5 kingdom classification was given by the scientist Robert H. Whittaker in the year 1969. He proposed a 5 kingdom classification, namely kingdom Plantae, kingdom Animalia, kingdom Fungi, kingdom Monera and kingdom Protista. So these are the 5 kingdom that was given by the person called Robert H. Whittaker. Now question arises on what basis he gave the kingdom classification. So the main criteria for classification used by him include cell structure, thallus organization, mode of nutrition, reproduction and phylogenetic relationship. So on these bases he observed the entire living organisms, and then he classified the entire living organisms into these 5 groups that we are considered as the 5 kingdom. So we have to remember the main criteria for classification used by Robert Whittaker. So here we can take the overview with respect to the images of the organisms included in that particular kingdom. First we will see in kingdom Monera. So there are small microscopic unicellular organism, that is without microscope we won't be able to observe them. Again in kingdom Protista also the same type of organism. So they are very small microscopic organisms that need the microscope to study. Kingdom Animalia are having the large size organisms. Even kingdom Plantae are also having large size, but very few among them are also a microscopic structure. Kingdom Fungi also we need the microscope. So like that these are the 5 different kingdoms that has been classified by the scientist Robert Whittaker, and among that only kingdom Monera is having the prokaryotic basis, or we can say the prokaryotic type of nucleus, and other than that kingdom Protista, kingdom Fungi, kingdom Animalia and kingdom Plantae, they all will be included, or they all will be consisting the type of nucleus that is the eukaryotic nucleus. Eu means true. So the true nucleus is present in the rest of the kingdoms except kingdom Monera, and all organelles are present in the nuclear envelope and very specific characters they are having. So now let's start talking about kingdom Monera. So now here we will see the different characteristics of the kingdom Monera. So if we will talk about kingdom Monera, it contains unicellular organism with prokaryotic cellular organization. Kingdom Monera includes unicellular prokaryotic organism and they are omnipresent. It means they are present everywhere. They are found in all types of environment which are not generally inhabited by other living beings, and few are photoautotrophs or the chemoautotrophs, means few are preparing their food in the presence of sunlight and few are having the effect of chemicals too, but majority are heterotrophic in nature. It means they won't be able to prepare their own food, so they rely on others for their food. These organisms do not have well defined nucleus. As I said that it is a kingdom Monera that is belonging to the protist type of or prokaryotic type of nucleus. So DNA is not well defined, nucleus is not well defined. DNA exists as a simple double stranded circular single chromosome that is called as nucleoid, and small circular molecules of DNA as extra chromosomal genetic elements called plasmids. So these plasmids are also often present in it, and cell wall is made up of peptidoglycan that is also called as murin, which is a polymer of sugar and amino acid. Organelles are not having any kind of membrane, or we can say no membrane bound organelles in cytoplasm. Organelles like mitochondria, chloroplast, endoplasmic reticulum, they all are absent, and ribosomes are present but in a very small size, that is 70s unit only. So that in eukaryotic cell means the characteristics what we can see in eukaryotic nucleus, that is not present here. So the mode of reproduction in kingdom Monera is asexual or with the help of binary fission or budding. Very rarely sexual reproduction also we can see in this kingdom, that is also by conjugation method. So morphologically, bacteria are categorized into 4 groups, and these 4 groups are spherical, that is called as coccus, the rod shape, that is called as bacillus, the comma or kidney shape, that is called as vibrio, and the spiral shape, that is called as spirillum. On the basis of evolution, these bacteria can be further classified as in 2 groups. The very first one is Archaebacteria and the second one is Eubacteria. So let's have a talk about Archaebacteria. So Archaebacteria is considered as the first primitive on the earth or first life form on earth because it's able to live in extreme condition, that is called as extremophiles. So these are the differentiated form other than the bacteria, we can say, on the basis of their different cellular features, and these bacteria are mostly found in the extreme environments. That is the reason it is called as extremophiles. So they are found in variety of places from volcanic craters to salty lakes and hot springs too. So their ability to withstand such a hostile environment speaks for their capacity to survive in very severe condition. So bacteria that can withstand high salinities are called as halophils, while that withstand extreme temperature are called as thermophils. A very common example is of methogenic bacteria that is found in gut of a ruminant, that is cows and buffaloes. So these bacteria help in production of methane in biogas plant, hence called as methanogenic bacteria. The second one is Eubacteria. These bacteria, we can say, largest among the largest group of kingdom Monera. They are the majority of bacteria, what we can say that they are doing the maximum work for the welfare. So they are commonly referred as the true bacteria, and they have cell wall of peptidoglycan, and they are found as autotrophs and heterotrophs. The autotrophs can be photosynthetic, like they can be able to prepare their own food. So examples we can take like chlorobium, that is green sulfur bacteria, and chromatium, or chemosynthetic like sulfur bacteria. So these are mostly multicellular filamentous forms living in fresh water. The body is converted by mucilaginous sheath. The genetic material is a typical prokaryotic. Chlorophyll A, chlorophyll B, carotene and xanthophyll are the photosynthetic pigments. So by the with the help of these pigments only, they are able to prepare their own food. Filaments show heterocysts which help in nitrogen fixation. आपने cyanobacteria देखा होगा, like cyanobacteria they are having the blue part in between, that is heterocyst. So that is the main part that is helping in the nitrogen fixation. Heterotrophs are the most abundant. Most of them are decomposers and known for breaking down large molecules in simple molecules or minerals. So they can be anaerobes, which means they are working in the presence of oxygen and helping in our day-to-day life, like curdling of milk. That there we are using lactobacillus. Fixation of nitrogen, we are having azotobacter for this work. Antibiotic production, we are having streptomyces. Composting and a degrading oil, like that, these are the different functions of these bacteria. But here only the things not end, or the functions not end by these bacteria. They are also responsible for causing diseases. It means to some extent if they are useful, so they are harmful also for us. So the harmful bacteria, we can say like that one, those who are causing us diseases or the causative agent for certain diseases like typhoid, cholera, tuberculosis, tetanus. You might have heard about these diseases. So these are the causative agents, that these bacteria are causative agents for such kind of diseases. There is one more variety in kingdom Monera, that is called as Mycoplasma. So the Mycoplasma is also a prokaryotic microbe that is varying in its size by 150 to 250 nm. It is not having a proper cell wall, and these are the smallest of living forms. They do not have cell wall. Many forms are pathogenic. So they are found resistance to common antibiotic due to absence of cell wall. That is the reason we may require it for the production of antibiotic. So this is a very also important part of the kingdom Monera that we can utilize for the production of antibiotics, we can say. Next kingdom is kingdom Protista. So this group includes all the unicellular but eukaryotic organism, and these organisms show link with all eukaryotic kingdoms like kingdom Plantae, kingdom Fungi and kingdom Animalia. So we can say it's a connecting link between the other kingdoms. So if we will talk about the characteristics of kingdom Protista, so they are the unicellular organisms that are coming under eukaryotic type of organisms. They are having the appendages. Hair-like cilia is present on the body. You can see the presence of hair-like structure on the outer surface of the this is a paramecium. So this is having a outer hair-like structure that is called as a cilia. So autotrophic or heterotrophic mode of nutrition, it means sometime they may prepare their food or sometime they may not. So example, we can take all protozoans, we will be including here as a protists. So as I said that this kingdom is having link with all kingdoms. So we are having different types in kingdom Protista. So the very first one is plant-like Protista, second one is animal-like Protista, third one is dinoflagellate, the next one is fungi-like Protista, and the last one is euglenoids. So we have to study one by one these five. So let's start with the plant-like protists first. So plant-like protists are also termed as chrysophytes, and they are commonly termed as phytoplanktons. They are microscopic and mostly photosynthetic and are major producers in oceans. Most of them is referred to as diatom, as the have body wall made up of two soap-like box like footing silica covers. Diatomaceous earth is also a very important, we can say it is a very important historical event. It is there, diatomaceous earth, formation of diatomaceous earth, because here we are having the shells left behind for so many years, the items that is present in the earth's surface for so many years, and it get well acquainted with that earth. So that earth is considered as the diatomaceous earth, and because of the granules present in it, the earth is also having the importance or its use as for polishing and for filtration. Next one is animal-like protists, and this animal-like protists are also called as protozoans. They are having unicellular body and they require water for their survival, and they all are present in the moist soil also. Most of them are heterotrophic, it means they won't be able to prepare their food, but few are having the photosynthetic property also. Most of them are free living and some are parasites also. If we will talk about parasites, they may be entoparasite or ectoparasite. It means if we will talk about the example of entamoeba, so here we can take it as a endoparasite because it is causing amoeboic dysentery, and some are the ectoparasite that is living outside the body and giving harm to the host, we can say. So trypanosoma is a common flagellated pathogen which causes sleeping sickness. तो इसको हम लोग example ले सकते हैं as a ectoparasite. And paramecium is also a ciliated protozoan. We know the paramecium from our small standard also. We are studying about the paramecium. So that is also again coming under animal-like protists. Next one is dinoflagellates. So the dinoflagellates are aquatic, that is they are mostly found in marine water, and they are photosynthetic. The cell wall is made up of cellulosic stiff plates. So they possess a pair of flagella. They have a wide range of photosynthetic pigment which can be yellow, green, brown, blue and red. Goniolox is a dinoflagellate that is responsible for famous red tide. So it makes even sea appear red. If they found in plenty on the surface of sea, so it will give a red color to the entire sea surface, and that is the reason it is called as a red tide. So this is the structure of a dinoflagellate. Two structures they got fixed into one another. Such type of structure they are having, and they are having the presence of flagella also. You can see the flagella present. So that is for the sake of locomotion. So here they are having flagella as a locomotory organ, and they are causing the red tide also in the sea. Now next one is fungus-like protista. Fungus-like protist means protists that feed off on a dead organic matter but have centrioles and lack chitin in their cell wall, because they are commonly form the group Myxomycetes, and they are saprophytic. As I said, they are depending on the dead and decaying matter, so they are called as saprophytic organism, and the cell aggregate to form a large cell mass Okay, and that cell mass is called as plasmodium. Not that plasmodium that is causing malaria, it is a different plasmodium, and it is producing the spores, and like that it will be having its spore production, and thus it will be for what we can say that flourishing its generations, we can say. Simple characteristics, if we will talk, they live on a damp on water places, and here we can see, feel the very foul smell, because wherever we can see the fungus, so it's having a very foul smell on it, because they require that damp and marshy water. Okay, on marshy surface, the moist surface, they are growing very easily. They are also having the characteristics that they are having the ability to break down the dead organic matter, hence they are also called as the decomposers also. Now the last one among this is euglenoid. Euglenoid, they lack a cell wall but have the tough covering that is called as proteinaceous pellicule, and this proteinaceous pellicule is having a very tough covering on it. So they possess two flagella, one short and other one is long, and they behave as heterotrophs in absence of light, but whenever they got the light or they got the sunlight exposure, so they are using their pigments that like chlorophyll A, chlorophyll B, carotenoids, such kind of pigment is also present in it. So that is the reason whenever they will get exposure to the sunlight, so they will be behaving like a autotrophs, otherwise they will be behaving like a heterotrophs only. So like that, they are having unequal flagella for their locomotion purpose, and there is no cell wall, and only proteinaceous pellet is present. And if we will talk about its habitat, so we can get this on the marine and fresh water, and we will also be having this on puddles, ditches, ponds, streams, lakes, rivers, etc. So more than 1000 species is available in the living variety, and the best example we can take it as a euglena. So this is the actual structure of euglena. You can see the presence of the entire body without cell wall, and the presence of flagella also, and with the help of this flagella only it is doing the locomotion, and the other chloroplast and other pigments are also present. Because of that, it is having the mode of life as sometime it is working as a autotroph, and sometime it is living like a heterotroph.
For further updates of Dr. Asadullah Khan English High School and Junior College, don't forget to press the bell icon.